Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you once again for your greatness, Lord, for your love, Lord. And we pray, Lord, for Premier Legacy and all of its agents and our brokers, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, so much for the business that you allow us to have. And we pray, Lord, for everybody that's here and also the ones that are not here, whether it's because of health or for whatever reason they wouldn't be able to make it, Lord. We just pray that you be with them, Lord, and bless this meeting and that we get something good out of it. We ask you this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Hugo. A couple of quick housekeeping things. One, I just want to say a quick thank you to Sharon. She does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that helps all of us, and I really appreciate you, Sharon, for everything that you do, including put together this Zoom meeting tonight. So thank you, Sharon, for all that you do for us.
Thank you.
Is one day I will learn how to put this stuff on the screen, but is everybody familiar with this final walkthrough form? And does everybody use it with your buyers when you get ready to do your final walkthrough? And do you have them sign each part of this, whether it's with regards to whether they did or did not have a property inspected, if it was re-inspected, did they get a home warranty, or if not? All these things are so important. And when glitches come up after the fact, it sure is nice to have this to show that we did walk them through and that they agreed or didn't agree to whatever. So just please make sure that you include that with your final buyer work.
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
We kind of question whether we should or we shouldn't, but in my opinion, we should. Ones that say, seller says, "Oh no, I was there last weekend. I don't want to go." I can't stress enough that we need to cover our tails and go to the house and take pictures of each room, take a picture of each side of the house on the exterior, and just make sure nothing has happened, nothing's busted, nothing's leaking, nothing's broken, nothing wall hadn't fallen down, something. And just send those pictures on a text and document it in your box or send it to them in an email and then put that in your box. And you can even put it on that final walkthrough. Seller wasn't able to go or didn't want to go, but agent sent a text or an email with all those pictures. We need to, it's just a Sue Happy world. I'm sorry. It's just what it is today. And I think we need to cover ourselves. So I'll shut up now.
Very good. Very good. So tonight we'll do two areas of learning. And what I want to cover is going to be much more than just one night. I hope it can be multiple different nights. And so really I'm going to try to do my part in about 30 minutes because we also know that we're seeing a lot more various types of seller financing. For the first time in 8 years of doing this, I just had my first seller finance on a commercial deal a few months ago. So Sharon has a phenomenal amount of experience on that. So she's going to share some useful stuff with us. I know some of you, including Hugo's, hit me up recently about some, I think Jay and Tricia too, some seller finance things that were kind of different, kind of creative. So we can't know enough about, I think I could say this new, not new, but new lately in terms of an emerging additional form of financing that we're seeing more and more out there. I'm going to talk about how to become a community realtor. Now, why is that important? I know that some of you use leads on a regular basis, and praise God for that. I'm so thankful for Kim that she provides those, and it's a wonderful tool that we have. Wonderful tool. Hey, Angela. But we also know that we want to keep growing our business. We want to keep opening more doors so that someday maybe our kids can be a part of this, or people that we know and love who would like to get in the business, that we can help share our business with them as they grow their business, et cetera, et cetera. So um, being a community realtor is something that Johnny was always big on. It's something that I've learned that's helped me in my business tremendously. I know a number of other realtors out there who they do a lot of business just because they're that community guy or gal where they live. So community realtor, most of you have probably seen the Andy Griffith Show. If you have, or shows like that, there's a little town and you've got a handful of people that are the go-to auto parts store or the gas station, the local mechanic, the the hardware store, the pharmacist, and everybody knows them by their names and loves them, and that's where they go. They're trusted merchants of their particular type of business. And it really goes for the same as realtors, or it can and it should. When I was growing up, my brothers had a company called Archer Real Estate in the early and mid to late 80s. And at that time in Mesquite, there, some of you have heard me share the story before, but at that time in Mesquite, there was probably 9 or 10 brokerages. If you drove through Mesquite, you saw those different companies, those local brokerages, signs in the yards. And I'm just using Mesquite as an example. If you drive through Mesquite today, in any given neighborhood, you're going to see dozens of signs from brokerages from all over DFW. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a wrong thing, but whatever city you live in or community, your company's signs ought to be all throughout those neighborhoods. And if we start thinking that way, we are going to see more business. So few tips I wanted to just share with you tonight, and we'll do more later, but tonight, the few tips I wanted to share. The first thing is be involved where you live. Now, that could look 100 different ways. If you have a church home where you live, and I'm not saying use your church home to go drum up business, but if you're active there and people know that you happen to be a realtor, some who love you and trust you are just going to automatically use you. I've been very blessed, and Andrew Hubachek's been very blessed that people just come up to us at our church and just ask us to help them because they know that we're a realtor. They don't know anybody else that's a realtor in that area. But maybe it could be a civic club. I'm in Kiwanis Club here in Terrell. Kim used to be in a couple different service clubs. I believe it was at Wills Point or yeah.
All of them. And
yeah, and it's great fellowship, and you're meeting people regularly, and people know who you are. Maybe it's the Chamber of Commerce. I'm involved in the Mesquite, Crandall, Forney, and Terrell Chambers of Commerce, and those relationships come in very handy. And those chambers are supposed to refer you, or at least include your name, a list of other realtors, to be considered when someone's calling up asking for a realtor. But you'll also meet lots of other business people, and pretty soon, if you're helping them with their business, they're going to be helping you with your business. So chamber is a great opportunity. I'm not saying go do 4, but wherever you live, join that chamber. Depending on the city's size, could be anywhere from 160 to $250. We throw that down sometimes, when we're having fun on a weekend or something. So, set aside money every month for your marketing, whatever that's going to be, whether that's for advertising or to be able to join something, have some money set aside for your marketing or your networking. But be seen, be involved. There's different realtor gatherings. Most communities have, some days they'll have a local gatherings where they invite realtors and insurance agents and lenders. And it may seem like, well, that, am I going to get business there? Not necessarily every time, but again, the relationships really pan out. And one thing I've learned from Tom Ferry is having great relationships. I know that Tricia and Jay have done this. Having great relationships with other realtors, not in your brokerage, is very advantageous. You will make money because you have friends that are realtors either in your community or in other areas. So think about that. Get to know lots of other realtors and make friends with them. But get involved, be seen somewhere. Volunteer for things, whatever it is in your town where you live. Start kind of getting involved and figuring out where everything's at. Let's touch base a little bit about social media, again, with a community focus. Most towns, most communities have their own Facebook pages. And of course, there may be a dozen in multiple facets in just that community. Different neighborhoods may have them. The neighborhood that you live in, your HOA may have some type of a Facebook page. Mesquite, there's a page called The Real Mesquite. I think Tricia is on there. I think Hugo's on there. And it's thousands of people who live in that community who see you every single day. And it's not about just always posting your real estate stuff. It's about you posting things that also show you're a part of the community, which I'll touch on just a minute. But look for community pages where you live. In Rockwall, there's a page called the Rockwallian that's got thousands of people on there. And some of them do have some rules and regulations about when you can post about a business, etc. You got to follow those rules. But at the same time, if people know that you are a realtor and they see you constantly liking their things and supporting their stuff, they're going to appreciate that.
Can I step in for a second?
Yeah, please.
Just a little idea what James, my husband, he's self-employed also, so he's a contractor. But we live in a small town. We live in Van, but we sponsor a lot of the little leagues, so our names are on the jerseys and the hats. So that's just
great stuff.
an idea.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
Not necessarily they all use us, but it gets our name out there.
Absolutely. Again, as we go through this, you're going to find more and more. There's dozens of ways to do this, but you need to start doing something if you're not doing anything right now. And pretty soon, you'll start getting more ideas, and it'll become natural to you to network where you live. That was really good, Melissa. Thank you. Share community news. Get on your school district's Facebook page. Get on your, and I'm not saying just use Facebook, but that's where you have access to a lot of different community things. Get on your city or your city or whatever local government page and share what's going on there. And again, people are going to say, "Wow, Anza is really involved. We learn things because Hugo's always sharing what's going on with the school district. Our kids go to school here." Share info about local businesses on your page. I constantly look for small mom and pop businesses in Terrell, Forney, Crandall, Mesquite, Sunnyvale that I could help them, promote them. Usually they probably need it really bad anyway. And some of those people will be very, very grateful. Some of them, I notice they promote my stuff and they like my stuff and they tell their friends, and I do get business referrals because of supporting those small businesses. Be a rallier for your community, whether that's, again, sharing what's going on with the school district. Sometimes I'll see, a group of kids get some big awards. And so I'll just share that on my page. Great things happening in Crandall ISD or Forney ISD. People love to see those positive things. They ought to see it from us. And again, oftentimes it's not about you doing those things, showing, "Hey, I'm a realtor while I do this." But as time goes by, people are just going to know that you're a realtor, especially if you use your business page while you're doing it. If you don't have a business page, you really are missing huge opportunities. If you don't have a business page with your Facebook, find out how to get one, because there's a lot of people you can connect with that you won't connect with on your personal page. Some days when I go on my business page and I start scrolling through, I'm surprised at how many different businesses I never even heard of before, local, they're there on that feed.
On your page.
Yeah. So
And you can share to groups from your business page.
but when you do share some real estate things, show again that you're helping people, whether that's showing some tips on how to prepare for the next freeze that's coming up, to protect your home and your water pipes, etc. Or, hey, spring is almost here. Here's some tips to start getting your home ready. Be the information realtor as you're also being the community realtor. And all these things oftentimes just take a couple of minutes. And a bunch of us sometimes like to scroll through and look at stuff anyway. Why not, if you're sitting there watching TV at night, relaxing, why not also kind of mess around and check out some stuff and like some stuff and encourage people while you're doing it? Build your business when you have every opportunity. But again, be a rallier for your community. And I think Melissa's example was great. And there's lots of other things that you can support and help that don't take a whole lot of money sometimes, but you just showing and investing yourself in the people where you live. I always think about the Mr. Rogers song, "Who are the people in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood?" But it makes sense. It's a great song and it's meaningful. When you're making images for your social media, some of you probably have some graphic skills. I don't have those. Maybe someday I'm going to learn that. I need to learn that. I know some of y'all use Tina. I've got somebody right now that I use, but 2 images you should get made right away. It would even be worth a few dollars if you need to pay for it. Is one, a happy birthday image that you can post anywhere on social media anytime, and a congratulations image. Of course, both those have your picture and your brokerage information about you being a realtor. Every morning when I get up, not every, probably at least 4 or 5 days a week, if I remember, I don't get too busy. I pull up, my social media, and I look over in my notifications, and in there will usually be, so and so, so and so, so and so's birthday today. Could be 5 people, could be 10 people, could be 15 people. So it takes like 1 minute. And I just go through and start popping every single one with my nice happy birthday image. Now, for somebody that gets 200 happy birthday wishes that day, it may not be that noticeable, but I promise you this, there's a bunch of people that may get 1 or 2 people wish them happy birthday. And so they really appreciate that you took that time to wish them happy birthday. And they're going to notice that Hugo was nice enough to wish me happy birthday. Oh, and he's a realtor. What a nice guy. Okay. Or, I mean, how often do you go through your scroll and so had a baby? Bob just got a promotion at work. Bill and Susie just got married, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why not also, you can be watching TV and hanging out, but flipping through and put your little image on there. Congratulations, so happy for you, or happy birthday. Those are all easy wins that make you friends, that encourage people. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Now, again, of course, as you're doing all these things, make sure you're also doing some things consistently that show that you are a hardworking, trustworthy, thoughtful, caring realtor. And we can talk about that another time, about strategies for your personal and business page. Some people don't want to use personal, and that's fine. For me, I've got 5,000 friends, so it would hurt me to not make use of my personal page. But even then, I try to manage it. I'm trying to make sure that if I've got 3 or 4 work posts one day, try to make sure that there's at least 1 or 2 other fun social things that will still draw people to my page in a positive, encouraging way, which actually sometimes helps the business side too. When I research and look up the different things that people look for in a realtor, one of the top things is trust. And I've been very blessed, I'm sure some of you have too, that over the years, a number of people have messaged me on Facebook, who's known me for a long time on Facebook, some that I've never even met. They've said, "Hey, Bruce, we feel like we know you, feel like we can trust you. We see you out there working hard all the time. Will you help us?" And man, to spend a minute or 2 a day on Facebook to get that, something that may bring you several $1,000s, that's worth doing. So do all you can while you're on social media to become that well thought of, well respected, trusted realtor. It really, really does pay off. The last thing I wanted to share, 10 things that Redfin said that people look for in a realtor. Number 1, honesty, integrity. Number 2, knowledge and expertise. That's a big one. People want to know that you're competent, you're able to do your job well. Number 3, attention to detail. How often do you see when you're working and you get on the other side of the deal, they forget to fill in the seller information, the buyer's information on the page that has all that stuff on there, or they just forget stuff and you're having to do work for them? Nobody likes that, and the client didn't like that. Communication skills, massive, huge, huge, huge. People want their phone calls returned, their emails returned, and their text returned. Negotiation skills, massive. Dedication, determination. People like to see that you're involved and working hard on their stuff all the time. Team support. We can't do this by ourselves. We need all of us together helping each other. I'm so proud when I see on some of the different pages or message groups where so-and-so is helping show somebody else's property, etc. Teamwork makes all the difference in the world. Compassion. Sometimes people need to know that we actually care about them and their tough situation that they're in, their probate stuff, et cetera, that we're not just there to make some money off them. We actually care and want to help them have a stress-free situation after a bunch of stress they've already been through. Experience, huge. The last thing, resourcefulness. And we'll know that you've got ways to get the job done. Now, I say all that to say this, and this is where I'll close. All those things that I just said, those 10 things, people can see in you from your regular presence on social media and by you being involved in the community on a regular basis. So a lot more I could share, but that was a small start of what I hope to continue over the coming weeks about how to become a community realtor. So even if you do get leads or you have other ways of getting business, doing that will help you long-term provide for your family and grow your business in exponential ways. And any questions? Then I will turn it over to Miss Kim.
We're going to talk about seller finance tonight. There's a lot of people that are self-employed. Those are big ones that tend to want to do seller finance because they write everything off. So at the end of the year, they may show they made $25,000, but in reality, if they didn't write everything off, including their house and toilet paper and tennis shoes, they might have made $100,000. So they have the means to purchase. They have the money in the bank to purchase. They just don't have the their debt to ratio looks out of sync because they're not reporting very much on their income. Hairdressers are notorious. I'm not labeling them. I was one for 18 years. Hairdressers are notorious. Realtors can fall into that category. Lots of different self-employed people, hairdressers, realtors, just lots of self-employed people. I mean, I can even say
Contractors. Contractors.
Contractors, definitely contractors.
Mhm.
I can even say some doctors. Everybody thinks they make just millions, you know, then they have to charge a lot to get paid anything. And that's a reality. I know realtors that make more than doctors make, and that's no joke. So on your MLS sheet, I can't look up everything as Bruce has these. I sent these 2 documents out, but I'm not real good about adding it to show you. So I'm going to go over it, but he's going to send it out on email. On the MLS sheet, under finance options, you'll see cash, you'll see conventional FHA, VA, USDA loans. Owner carries first. That's how MLS is encoding it now, and the icon that they're using for it. Owner carries first is a seller finance opportunity. So you can go on your search and you can go on finance options and you can click owner carries first. Might want to write notes on this because I probably didn't take every note I'm going to tell you. My brain's going to dump on you tonight. Owner carry first, and you may have a potential that, you know, somebody says, hey, I got $50,000 I can put down, or I've got 20% of 400 that I can put down. That's $80,000. So, you know, these are another avenue. Somebody don't quite have their credit in shape. They're just shy, but it's going to take them a minute. They can go in, if they have their money to put down, they can go in and do an owner finance and turn around and do a simple refi to get their credit in shape. And boom, they're set for 30 years. You know, they keep their credit rolling, they can upsize and do something better the next round. A lot of times on these owner finance, they don't want to do a lot to this house, but maybe it needs paint, maybe it needs carpet, maybe it leaves little countertops. You know, they can turn it into a pretty nice home. So on the MLS sheet, if you're searching for it, you would check box the owner carries first. Normally the seller is going to ask for 20% down. It costs 8%. By the time you look at realtor commissions and basic closing costs, the rule of thumb is it costs a minimum of 8% to close. Well, if you only offer them 10%, they're gonna take scraps home. And if this buyer falters on this loan, they're not even gonna have the money to pay to, file for a foreclosure, which is $3,500. So there is an option around that. If everybody can agree, if a mess happens, there is an option around that. It's called a deed in lieu. It's a whole lot cheaper. It doesn't ding their credit up. They hand back the keys, they empty the house and make it look as clean as they can, they hand back the keys, they sign a little paper and they're done. And it's over with. And that seller starts over. But they lost their down payment money. They lost 10 to 20% or more that they put down. It's gone. So that's a win-win for a seller. If they get it back and it's been taken care of. If it's been destroyed, it's a gamble. It's all a gamble when they decide to become that bank. So 20% down is much more keen than 10%. But don't ever walk away from it and ask, because some of the sellers don't need the money. They just want that monthly residual coming in every month. So don't be afraid to ask to put 10. I wouldn't suggest less than 10. It doesn't give them any strength as a buyer. 10% is minimum. Always ask the other agent if this property is free and clear. If it's not free and clear, and I know a couple agents know exactly what I'm talking about. If it's not free and clear, it becomes a wrap. And I'm not saying we won't do them, but they're very risky. And they need to be fully explained by the attorney that manages the title company. But if the property's free and clear and they've owned it for years and years, then they just want to turn it into, they don't want to maintain it anymore. They want to sell it and start making an income on it. Then it's a great scenario. And they'll be held as just like any other lender. They'll be considered the note carrier. They'll be in recorded with the county that they hold the note. Once it's paid off, then they go back to that little Mr. Seller and to the title company and say, we need you to file a release of lien. Very important. These people die when they get in their 80s. Very important. That thing gets paid off, or you refi it, get that we can't refi it. You're never gonna get it to closing without getting a release of lien. But make sure you get a release of lien if they fulfill paying it off in a couple of years. Maybe they, strong buyer and they just can't do a loan, but maybe they're gonna dump 50,000 in a pop to it until it goes away. Make sure you get that release of lien. You do not want to be chasing heirs 10, 15, 20 years down the road trying to figure out how to get a release of lien to get that thing to be able to sell it. So page 1 of the contract, down where the sales price is, and beside it, it gives you options of what kind of financing. There is one called a seller finance addendum. That's your finance option on the contract. That's the checkbox you use. Sellers on this addendum, and we're sending that addendum to you. I filled it in with fake numbers and fake address, so you'll see it on the email. Sellers are going to want to see, whoops, I lost you. I was looking at you and now I lost you. There you are. Sellers want to see the buyer's ability to pay. And there are check boxes on the seller finance addendum that says you'll give a credit report, you'll give verify your income. Oh, my husband is, he's loud. I hope you are not hearing all this. Hang on a second. My husband decided to talk on speaker.
I'm just glad y'all didn't hear my dog barking a while ago.
Didn't hear the dog barking. My husband's talking to his daughter on speaker and he's loud. I'm like, I am teaching, you can't do this. Anyway, 2 months of bank statements, you could do stubs, you could do a letter of employment, verifying employment. Um, uh, finance, I can't think with him talking, it drives me nuts. I'm so sorry. I'll scream at him later.
He's deaf. He's deaf.
Proof of funds for the down payment. And there's check boxes on that seller finance addendum of what you're gonna do, and you're gonna give them. I normally say 3 days because that's kind of during your option period, and everybody can kind of sure up their loan. Okay. You'll need to run this on a mortgage calculator. Hugo kind of learned a little bit on the Bankrate mortgage calculator recently. You put in Google Bankrate mortgage calculator, put in the terms, it'll have the amount of your sale, your down payment, your finance amount, the length of the term. Most of the time they have the options that you need on there. If it's a 15 or 30 year or 20 year, most of the time they have the option. And when you hit auto calculate, go to the bottom, scroll down to the bottom, and there's another bubble. There's a bubble at the bottom, and it says the taxes and the insurance. Well, on seller finance, majority of the time they don't escrow. You're going to want to back that tax and the insurance out because that's not going to be involved in the note. You're going to back that amount out, and that's going to give your actual amount that's your principal and interest that you're going to fill in on the seller finance addendum. Sometimes they'll have an odd like 12 years. They want to pay it off in 12 years. They want to pay it off in 8 or something. And you may not be able to find a calculator that does that for you. Title company will run this for you if you call them, send them an email and say, you run me what the payments will be on this. They'll probably laugh at you, but it's okay. I've done it because I couldn't figure it out. You can, if you take your finance class in real estate, they teach you how to do this on a mortgage calculator too. I don't know if I really trust it. I kind of like the one that does it for me. But this will give you your net. And on the next page, it says these words: with consent or without consent. This will allow to whether they can sell the property while they're carrying the owner finance on it. You know, they have a plan. They worked with their finance. They've worked with their investment person, financial advisor. We're gonna kill each other. Front of God and everybody. Anyway, it says seller consent or non-consent. It's consent to sell the property while you're carrying the note. They probably worked with a financial advisor and this is part of their retirement plan. So this may put them in a pickle if they were to allow this to be sold. They didn't make the interest on that note for 3 or 4 years that they were planning. It's good to think about when they're doing this owner finance, they're making the payment on it. They're making the interest on it. Okay. And a lot of times they ask for what's called a balloon. And I know y'all have heard some of this and you kind of go, what's a balloon? Well, they're going to finance this for 15, 20, 30 years to get the payment where everybody's comfortable with making payment. But this particular seller is already 70 years old. And he doesn't want to get to 80 before that note is paid off. He doesn't want to get too old to deal with it. So he may say he wants a balloon in 7. He may want a balloon in 5. That means this person that's asked for owner financing, they're going to have to get their act together, get in a position where they can either pay it off or get their own financing to pay it off during this term. And then the next box is escrow required or not required. Who can tell me what escrow is? And that doesn't mean you have a contracted title.
Taxes and insurance.
Yes. Majority of the time, escrow is not required. Meaning what? End of the year, by January or first of the year, by January 31st before it's late,
You're gonna take care of that.
you're gonna be taking care of the taxes in full. And you're going to get a receipt and you're going to send this to the seller to say, hey, I paid my taxes. You're not gonna get a notice that they're delinquent.
I think I would just do escrow.
Well, maybe you want to be the seller that has to keep up with that financing and say that accounting. That's why they don't like to do it. But your younger buyers, and I'm not using a familiar status when I say that, these younger buyers that don't have savings,
Right.
it can really put them in a pickle. So it may be something that you say, Mr. Seller, can we do this and you set up a savings account for this escrow and you pay in those taxes at the end of the year? Because they're just not comfortable that they can come up with $4,000 or $5,000 at the first year and they don't want to get in a mess with their taxes. So that might be something that really needs to be said, and get that clear up front. But a lot of them, it's a little mobile home out in the country on an acre and taxes are $2,000. Well, it's not a big deal for them. It's not really much more than a payment. They can put a little money in savings account every month or in their can out in the yard or whatever and come up with $2,000 to pay the taxes. Insurance is not as bad because you can put 3 months. Normally you can put 3 months down if you're doing an owner finance. 3 months down and then pay monthly payments. So insurance is not as bad, but it's an escrow of how the seller is going to handle this note. Now, this note is going to be drawn by the title company. The attorneys at the title company are going to write this note. You are going to read this note. And you're going to make sure it's all the terms according to what your people and the other people are expecting. Make sure the terms are right, the payments right, the balloon's right, the interest is right, whether it's escrow required, whether consent's required, and they have a lot of extras that they add in on there, and that's okay because it really protects them, very heavily protecting the sellers in these cases, because this person just become a financial institution.
And can I offer something, Kim,
Sure.
along that line also is that, some of us have our go-to title companies that we like to use when we're the seller's agent. Every once in a while, you may get lucky and get to do the other side too, if the other side doesn't care which title company. But even if you can't use your go-to, look for every opportunity to build relationships with those escrow officers because they can really help you a lot in these more complicated deals, or they can not if they don't feel connected to you.
I've done them with Mike Rulo. I've done them with Brander Title. Both of them are very knowledgeable. Just really haven't had any problems with doing the notes. I've done a bunch of them, and it's always they've always turned out. I think I had a wrap that had a deed in lieu. Thank God it had a deed in lieu, but he lost 20% down. He lost about $40,000. But he was in a mess and couldn't afford it, and it was that or get foreclosed on. And later, he was able to buy a property again, and his boss bought it cash and carried a note for him. So again, it was a seller finance deal again, but it was a much less property. It was about a third of what he had spent before. So, he got a divorce and things fell apart. But wraps are very, very risky. So the banks can call the note if they find out somebody else is making that payment besides who they lent money to. Normally, if they're getting their payment, I don't think they really care, but if they ever pay too close attention to that file gets audited, they can call that note. So it's a great opportunity, but I have written up a little blurb on this and a pretty decent blurb on this, and then attached a seller financing addendum to kind of give you a how-to. If you need help, always call. If you need help trying to figure out how much the payments are, make sure you scroll down at the bottom if you use Bankrate, back out those taxes and insurance so you're getting the actual amount. There's nothing wrong with calling the title company. And I think Money Law has a calculator on their little app. That app is pretty cool that they had, but we've been to some pretty neat classes over at Money Law. So if you haven't had a chance to go, we've had some good classes, some good training over there. It'd be really good. That's all I have for tonight. Business seems to be, we're still hovering in that 7% range on interest. But they're saying by May or June that business should be rocking and rolling. So we're all kind of planning our vacations and planning around it for the bang. We're gonna catch the bang and stick it in the bank.
Well, and so one quick thought with that is another reminder to all of us that the more connected you are with the community and the communities around you who know you as a trusted, caring, thoughtful realtor, even when the market's tougher, the people who are going to need agents should be calling you and me because they know us even during the higher interest rate times. So just remember to be seen, be heard, be involved, because somebody's going to ask for you because they know you. Now, another thing that Kim was talking about, things like seller financing, not all of us deal with that every single day. But more are. But whether it's that or a number of other things that may be different or that you're not used to, the number 10 item on that Redfin list of what people want from agents was this here, where it says, I'm not sure if you can see or not, but where it says, bottom, resourcefulness. No one expects you, because you sat through this training tonight, to be an expert on how to do seller financing. Now, because you show up to training, whether we're talking about seller financing or contracts 101 or whatever, you are going to pick up a few things that will be in your head the next time this comes up, and you'll remember. But even if you don't, resourcefulness, which means make every friend that you can with knowledge and expertise that you don't have. Some of you will call me sometimes and I won't have the answer right away, but I typically know who to call. And I'm going to find out quickly who we got to talk to, what we got to get figured out to get you the information that you need. Be resourceful. Have every friend that you can in different areas of real estate, whether it's surveying, whether it's title, whether it's lender. We've got some lenders that sometimes help us with some complicated issues. Even if it's not their deal, because we're good to them, they still sometimes help us out. Mike Vullo is a wonderful man who sometimes, even though I may not have a particular deal with him, he'll still walk me through on what to do with a sort of a complicated situation, because he knows I'm going to still bring him more business every chance that I get. So relationships and resourcefulness will get you through these different things that we don't normally do until you get to where you are used to doing these other different things too. So just something I want to share about being resourceful.
Absolutely.
Any questions about anything that Kim or I've gone over?
We are quiet tonight. You'll need a cup of coffee.
Hey, I do have a question, Kim.
Yeah.
You had mentioned about the deed. I'm sorry, no, the release of lien.
Oh, the release.
No, the release of lien. When did you say? Because you said, there may be an older person that's financing the loan.
As soon as it's paid off.
As soon as it's paid off. Okay.
As soon as it's paid off, I would normally what I hear, and of course I hear from one that carries notes all the time, but normally what he does is says, they'll call in and say, Mr. So-and-so, we're going to pay your note off this month. Can you figure out what I owe? So he's going to call the title company and say, can you pull up that amortization on that seller finance we did? And that he's paid his payments every month on time, and we're on month 42. And you tell me exactly what it is that he owes. And they'll tell him, and they said, what's the balance? And he'll say, prepare a release of lien and have it ready. And we're gonna have him come to the title company and pay his balance off. He's gonna hand me a check and I'm gonna sign the release of lien, you're gonna record it with the county. And it's like $110, $125, whatever, so it's very reasonable to get that
Right.
release of lien processed. And you
Okay.
file it straight to the county, it's over with.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You know, while we're discussing this, just real quick, Hugo, Jay, and Tricia, I think all of you have had a little bit of seller financing situations. Anything you want to share that you learned, or things that you picked up that you didn't like, or just whatever comes to mind?
Well, I think our seller financing situation was a little bit different because our client actually had an FHA loan in place. It was a lot different than what we're talking about here tonight. However, he was smart enough to request certain stipulations be added to the contract. We let him know that we were not lawyers, but if he wanted to do that we could make that request, but he would need to have everything reviewed by a lawyer. We also let the other side know the same thing, and they agreed on those stipulations. He actually had a balloon payment built in, and also he had a caveat that if the percentage rate or the interest rate was to drop below the current interest rate for however long, that they would have to immediately refinance the property and get it out of his name.
And as well, if there was to miss any payments or
And
whatever.
if they were to miss any payments, or if they didn't pay the payment by the first, he had a lot of stipulations in there, and they had it all drafted up and everything. And I mean, it worked out for them. It made us extremely nervous and uncomfortable because we were not familiar with it. But the key for us was just making sure he understood we don't do this every day. This is not something we're familiar with. These are not contracts we're familiar with. You need to have them reviewed by an attorney. You need to, if you have any questions, you have to have them reviewed by an attorney. But I think ultimately it was a win-win for both sides. We talked to him not too long ago, and he said it's working out fine, so.
Yeah, he has access to see when the payments are being paid to as well and all that.
Yeah.
So he requested a lot of things, and of course their attorney over there is the ones they put it together, and then we also asked him, to have an attorney look it over on his side as well. So everything panned out pretty well though.
Yeah,
on that one right there, we had a gang load of waves of financial
subject to
subject to is what they were calling it.
Yeah, that
Called a
particular
contract for deed.
huh?
It's called a contract for deed.
Right.
Subject to is a contract for deed.
Right. That's just how they refer to it. So that's the language to look for. If someone is sending it to you, that's what it is. The contract for deed, but that's the language they're putting in their contracts is subject to.
Subject to.
Yeah. And that's the language the title company is using also.
Mhm.
Hugo, what about you?
So I got to tell you, this was like a blessing for us. So I've been working with this client since last year, and we couldn't get them quite approved on the loan. They didn't have any credit, and that was the problem. So with the seller finance, they were just and I guess every seller is different. This seller, it was actually an LLC. The person that was in the house, they were much older. They couldn't make the payments anymore. They had just moved in there 2 years ago, but he was looking to get out of it, and he had done a seller finance with the LLC. Well, we took it to title. The title's like, oh, this is not a big deal. We can take care of this. So title, Ranger Title, they were very knowledgeable. Actually went very smooth. My buyers were like so she just got her Social Security number in November, so she has nothing. She has nothing to her name, no credit, but she doesn't have bad credit. So that helped a lot. They did have to put 20% down, which they had, and they were happy to do that, and they were happy. So I think it was a blessing, and my buyers were happy about it.
And huge thanks to Kim for helping us on that one. So thank you,
Yes,
Kim, for helping Hugo
yes,
through all that.
Well, I feel
yes,
blessed by having an owner finance opportunity, especially self-employed people or people that have no credit, pay cash for everything. The worst thing people can do is pay cash for everything. It sounds like a great thing because you don't owe anybody anything, but you
right.
have no credit if you ever need
Mhm.
it. So, go ahead.
Two last things I want to hit. Number one, we talked about dedication earlier. I just want to also do a quick brag on Angela Rodriguez. With the other leads that she works and clients that she's got, I think, from out of town that she's working with, trying to buy. There's a couple of different lease deals that she's helping me on that I just could not get to time wise, and these are high maintenance lease deals, including in Plano and McKinney. And she works a full time job, 8 to 5 every day, and then jumps off and works real estate at night, weekends. I'm just real proud of Angela, what you're doing. So keep up the good work. That's dedication. The second thing is, or the last thing, in regards to the community realtor aspect and people knowing you, um, if wearing a name tag works for you and you can remember to do it consistently all the time, that's great. That's not your deal. I wear these shirts. I've got about 3 different kinds, 3 different colors, and everywhere I go when I'm working, I've got this on, and people say, "Oh, you're a realtor. Oh, Bruce. Oh, he's a realtor," and it just again just show up, dress for work with your information there, and if you're not good at wearing a name tag, and it didn't have to be, necessarily a button down shirt. It could be a golf shirt, it could be a number of different things, and just find a local embroidery place with our logo, get your name and Premier Legacy Real Estate, and boom, you're out there meeting new people. They see who you are. And even if they don't talk to you, people notice a lot more than we think. I notice when I see different people with their company uniform on, I pay attention to those things. I'm just interested, and more people are interested than what you may think. So, if you don't do a name tag, get some shirts that have your logo and your name on them. Anything else, Sharon or Kim, that we need to share before we wrap up?
I have people that say, "Hi, Kim," and I'm like, "Oh God, who is this person?" It's because they read my badge. They read my badge, so it's become a piece of jewelry to me, basically. Put your earrings on, your necklace on, or whatever, or your glasses on your face. My badge goes on. It's just habit. But it's so funny when they say, "Hi, Kim, how are you?" Who is this? If this somebody I know, did they change their hair color? That's always going through my head. I don't know who these people are. That's because they read my badge.
So, I ran through mine kind of fast tonight because I want to make sure that Kim had enough time. And plus, I don't want to keep you all night when you do give your time to be a part of training. But was tonight helpful some to anyone? Did you learn some new things, maybe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't do a whole lot of seller financing at all, but if I do, I have Kim in my back pocket. It's maybe once every couple of years.
Trisha, we trying to say something?
I was just gonna say, Jay and I have talked to Mike Bulow a lot lately. We just love this man. He's
Me
amazing.
too.
And I just want to say, it seems like almost every transaction that Jay and I are involved in lately, or it feels this way, this could be an exaggeration, is some type of estate or probate or trust or
Me
what
too.
have
A
you.
bunch of it.
Mike has offered to conduct a training or something on estates if we want that.
Love it.
So
Yep. We'll put that in the pipeline. Absolutely.
I think
He's
it
taught
would
him
be
that
very
before.
helpful.
It's been a while, but he taught it before.
That'd be great. That's a fantastic idea, Trisha.
Because right now there are so many deals.
Dying people Sorry,
Yeah.
it's the truth.
And not even, yeah, incapacitated, dying, whatever. And spouses passing. And I think it would help us all. Jay and I are just getting baptized by fire, which is how we learn the best, apparently.
Sure.
That's what I was saying earlier about we get it all in waves. It's like
Yeah.
right now everything is probate, estates, you know. I'm like,
Yeah.
man.
And there's a lot to learn and navigate about that, and which questions to ask, which we're learning the hard way. So I think, Mike, that would be a great class for us all to learn.
I
And
love it. I'm putting that down in my notes right now. We will do that. And we're going to learn other things, or we're going to keep relearning other areas. We're going to have more classes on commercial. We're going to have more classes on land. So we're going to keep revisiting, especially areas that we may not be used to doing every single day. And again, very thankful for Kim with her vast experience in some of these different areas. I've been blessed to get more and more up to speed on commercial stuff. So all of us bring something to the table. And, you know, I'm just going to put this out there as we go. I'm probably going to be asking some of you also to participate in some training, because some of you will have experience other agents don't. And we're going to ask you to help participate and do some teaching and some training.
I'm
Because
taking not interrupting you, but there's a class on that. It's called Senior Real Estate Specialist.
designation,
And that's for probate and for ones that are downsizing and doing reverse mortgage purchases. Really cool loan for a purchase over 60. Yeah. Anyway,
and when
I
you get that
think at my
certification,
age, yeah, I'm getting that certification. I'll
you
be
can
taking
put
that
it
class the 1st of March.
you can put it on your social media. And
Mhm.
again, how many seniors out there, I keep reading more and more baby boomers are looking to sell, and they should be looking to us because we have experience and training to provide them assistance.
How many
Uh,
seniors are you working with right now?
Me? Oh, gosh, 4 or 5 different transactions.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question, I guess it was Sharon put this out there. I was curious what people are seeing in house pricing. I'm noticing prices starting to push higher again in my neighborhood, some higher than ever, not sold yet though. Well, I will tell you, I've got 3 to 4 different listings where, bless their hearts, people sometimes don't listen to their realtors and they just believe. Well, let me say this. If you went to the money law title training, we had a wonderful economist from Texas A&M, a real estate economist, giving some phenomenal info to us Friday. One of the things he talked about, and this is something we're all going to have to keep navigating through, and we educate people while still letting them do what they want to do ultimately, because they get to make the decisions, is there's a lot of sellers who have COVID mentality in terms of, well, man, I should be able to, my house is awesome. I should be able to get this, but it's just oftentimes not the case right now. And so I've got several listings just sitting there because, and I, about once every week or two, I'm like, hey, just want you to know that, we're still not getting much action. And I really think you may want to at least go down to this much here. And I told some folks the other day, hey, once you get down to this number, I'll do a third open house for you. But, I don't want to do another open house until I see them making some effort to get that price at what my brother used to call that sweet spot. So it's definitely an issue. And, I think it's a little bit better in North Central Texas than it was a couple of years ago. I think we've seen house pricing also kind of go in line with that 3% national inflation figure that we're seeing, but they're not stopping. They've just slowed down some in the value increases. That's what I'm seeing. How about y'all?
Well, we were running comps on a Heath property today, and man, we were having a hard time. So numbers like what Sharon's seeing in her neighborhood, we're not seeing that yet. So, I mean, I think by the summer, we're going to have that issue, like just from the money law firm. But
You still have to say though, it doesn't seem like we can't get the numbers there, but they've only owned that home for a year and a half.
mhm.
And
And they
at
bought it at
5,
the prime.
and at 5% appreciation on it, that's
Mhm.
only $50,000. and another half a year would be another 25, and we got it up over 80. So I mean, it's nearly 6-7% appreciation.
So
Unfortunately, it's going to cost them all that appreciation to close it.
here's what I'm going to say, and then we'll wrap it up. Let y'all get back to your evenings. Even with those tougher situations where we're just not, there yet to start getting the offers that we need to be getting, the way to work around these difficult times that we're in terms of it just takes much longer to get things closed is one thing that Johnny always taught us is just keep getting a whole bunch more deals and getting a whole bunch more listings and having a whole bunch more stuff on the table. And some of those things are going to close here and there. And eventually the ones taken forever will probably close too. So just keep your face out there and don't be a secret agent. You're going to make money. So I want to
Sounds like
thank
a
you all
plan.
for being a part of tonight. Thank you again, Kim. Thank you, Sharon, for hosting this. And thank you all, awesome agents, for your hard work and dedication every day. We're very thankful for you and we're proud of you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
God bless you all.
Talk to y'all tomorrow.